Howdy everybody, old Gare out here at the Fishing Shack, and welcome to this week's Fishing Chums Fishing Report. I'm still kind of tired from this past week's birthday parties. I tell you what, turned 75 last week, and what a great time I had. I want to thank Carl and everybody and all you viewers for sending in happy birthday messages. That was wonderful. And we had over 23,000 viewers last week on the program. Thank you guys. Thanks for sharing and keep up the good work. That's for sure. Well, we have a pretty good show for you. We're taping this on Thursday ahead of Friday, and it's raining a little bit. And the good news is that we have cool fronts coming in, and it's going to be really cool, it looks like, for the next couple of weeks. Temperatures in the mid to low 80s and even in the 70s. So that's really going to be good for fishing, that's for sure. Because we get in this time of the year when the lakes are going to be starting to turn over, and it can be a little difficult fishing. But look at my reports that's come in this week. Over the past weekend, we had a lot of people talking about all the boats on the water, a lot of activity on the lakes, but still there's a pretty good fishing report to pass on to you that might help you for your upcoming weekend's fishing. All right, let's start off out at Beaver Lake. Boy, they had a lot of boats out at Beaver over this past Labor Day weekend. It was just amazing. And the guides have been going out and catching fish. Sometimes they have to work for it, but that's why they call it fishing instead of catching. And I want to put this first photo out because there's some nice walleye being caught at Beaver right now for the very few people that's going out there looking for them and really working for them. In fact, Steve Blake Berry, and look at this young lady here, look at the smile on her face, and these two big walleye caught out of Beaver Lake last week. Just absolutely gorgeous. Boy, that White River chain, hey, it has some walleye, no doubt about it. And I want to say hi to our friends out at Hooked On Fishing Guide Service. Okay, boy, they really work good for their customers out there. They work hard. And they was out this week several times and picked up some really nice fish. Look at this photo here. And that's nice stripers. We'll be talking about the striper fishing at Beaver coming up here in about a minute on our report. And we got to say hi to our old buddy Richard Lee Rusher and Lisa. They've been fishing down below the dam at Beaver on that White River. And boy, they've been catching some nice trout this week. Look at this photo here. Absolutely beautiful trout. And some limits being caught down there. And I understand down below the dam that they're picking up some fish on power baits, and also they've been casting and working some spoons for their trout. But some nice fish being caught down below the dam on the White River at Beaver. Good going. And let's go back up to their photo of the week, back up on the main lake at Beaver. And look at this Kurt Goff photo. Look at this young lady. Look at this beautiful smile. What a beautiful striper here caught recently out at Beaver. Boy, what a great photo. Photo of the week coming out of Beaver Lake. All right, let's talk a little bit about the striper fishing. If you're going out there this weekend, I'd always recommend getting a guide. If you're going for a few days, kind of learn the system, because these guides work hard out there. They work hard for their clients. And what they're doing is mainly drifting and working live shiners, live bait I should say, and anywhere from 0.6 all the way back to the dam. They just keep working the points and those flats and trying to find these fish on their locators. And when they do, boy, they can get into them and you can have some real fast action out there. And so, boy, I tell you what, get yourself a guide, and always take care of your guides when you're out there fishing after the day's end. Give them a good tip. They deserve it because they do work hard, that's for sure. And again, Custom Adventure Guide Service down below the dam. Boy, they've been catching fish all week, getting their clients in some excellent trout fishing. Okay, I've had some reports the bass fishing out there. You may be going there this weekend. Early in the morning, there's a little bit of a topwater bite. You might want to try your favorite topwater baits out there. I know some spooks have been working. Also, they've been picking up some fish on popping baits, and that can always be a lot of fun. And when the sun comes up a little bit, they've been doing a little drop shot fishing and some Ned rigging out there on some of the long points. And they've been picking up some fish on plastic worms too in the brush piles like Texas-style plastic worms. So try that out. Had a good report. A lot of people complain a little bit about the crappie fishing out there, but I know our old buddy Lance Huey was out the other day, and he had a great mess of fish. So you can get out there and catch crappie. Sometimes they're on the flats. Sometimes they could be off the points, but mainly the flats, and find any kind of structure out there, you can catch some fish. I've heard anywhere around 20 feet of water, but minnows seem to be doing a little bit better than jigs. So it looks pretty good out at Beaver for the upcoming weekend. Get out there and get with it. All right, I had a big weekend this past week, my birthday week. It's a holiday, And Carla and I were out fishing the other day, and I was actually working for some walleye off some of the deep points out there on Table Rock up in the White River arm. I've been fishing the White and also the James River points. But I was up the White River arm off of the big point, and I spotted some fish in about 62 feet of water, and there's some activity down around 25 or 30 feet. So I used a grub and a night crawler, kind of drifted along with 4-pound test, ultralight, hoping to pick up a big walleye or a nice walleye. And I had a thunk, and the fight was on. And it took me over 15 minutes to get this fish in, because it was a smallmouth. Here's a photo, over 5 pounds. My Delier said 6 pounds, 3 ounces, but anytime you catch a fish, a smallmouth over 5 pounds, it is a trophy. And I had a ball. I had that open face spinning, and I was doing a lot of backpedaling, because she was not only taking my drag out, but she was so powerful I just had to go with a back pedal, and finally got her in. But what a beautiful fish. And I just took a couple pictures, give her a big old kiss, and put her back into the water. Gorgeous fish. And my sweetheart Carla was out, and look at this nice bass she caught. So the bass fishing can be good out at Table Rock. Sometimes these fish are suspended over those deep points, and don't be afraid to look for them over 60, 70 feet of water. They may be down around 25 or 30. You can get down there with a spoon, you can get down there with a grub, and some people have been using just mainly drop shotting out there, but grubs will work down there that depth. And let's see, Luke Campbell was out the other day. He picked up this nice bass. Good going, Luke. Great photo, good fish. So now this is what's happening. The water temperature is dropping. In fact, I forgot to tell you what Beaver was 82 degrees. Table Rock was 81 this morning. It's really dropping fast. And so these fish are moving around a lot. You can get some kind of a topwater bite in the early morning hours. One day they'll hit a topwater, the next day they won't. But do some spooks or junior spooks, and I've had some reports of popping baits as well. And just get out there with your favorite topwater bait, and I think you could have a chance getting some topwater action, but early in the morning. And then when that sun starts coming up, get out there with a Ned rig or drop shot. I like that Ned rig before that sun gets way high. When it's just starting to come up, maybe at 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock, I get out there with a Ned rig and fish those points, those long gravel points, and pick up a fish or two maybe on a Ned rig. And then when the sun gets a little higher, and especially on those clear days, go on out and start that drop shot fishing. And that's what's happening at Table Rock. And by the way, on cloudy days, we haven't had a lot of cloudy days, but if you hit some cloudy days with a little bit of wind, don't be afraid to go to a square-billed crankbait or a regular crankbait and hit some of the points and the bluff ends and so forth. You may pick up some fish as well. Still getting good reports. They're working for them. They're picking up some nice bass up in the river areas, and the fish are going to start moving back into the creeks as well. Go to the brush piles with Texas-style plastic worms. I tell you what, I like that 10-inch. I've been talking about it here for the last month. That 10-inch purple, black, or grape, kind of a dark color. Don't put much of a slip sinker on there, just because that worm is so heavy by itself. Get out there, pitch it to the bank, swim it down to your brush piles, and fish anywhere from 15 to 25 feet of water around the brush piles and trees and trunks. And gosh, you could have a chance picking up a nice fish. Been a few crappie caught up in the Cape Fear area, but it's mainly just getting into the right brush pile at the right time. Now, I've had some reports of a few crappie being caught around the docks. Minnows seem to be working a little bit better than jigs. And the that's about it for Table Rock. I'll tell you what, some nice fish are being caught out there. The walleye fishing slowed just a little bit this week. I think over the past weekend there was so much boating activity on the lake, it kind of spooked them a little bit because they just weren't where they should be. Just a lot of boating activity, but that should turn around this week and this weekend, I'm sure. And next week, the next couple of weeks, is going to be nice weather, so we'll keep on top of that walleye fishing out at Table Rock. I had a couple of questions on Table Rock walleye fishing, where exactly to go. Well, they move a lot. And they're not tightly schooled. These walleye are not tightly schooled, so you can't get into one spot and just catch a bunch of them. They kind of go up in a school and spread out on these points looking for feed. And so I've caught them up the James River arm on some of the points, also the White River arm. Just get out there with your electronics and cruise back and forth. Sometimes you'll see some fish towards the bottom, maybe in 15 to 18 to 20 feet of water. A night crawler will come in handy there, like a jigging night crawler, or you may want to use some harnesses and some bottom bouncers. But a lot of times these fish will be up off the, maybe in 30 feet of water, they may be down around 15 or 18. That's when you'll need to go to your trolling baits. And so like a flicker shad or a flicker minnow. Anything with chartreuse right now is working. Okay, let's go out to Lake Taneycomo. They haven't been running a whole lot of water, but they have been, when they are running water, boy, the fishing's good. And look at this photo from Trout Hollow Lodge today I picked up. Boy, there's some nice boats sitting out there just kind of drifting along. Boy, the trout fishing at times have really been good out at Taneycomo the last few days. So when they are running water, anything with a night crawler is going to work for you. Just a small hook with the weight up above it and just enough weight on there to get it down there and bounce it off the bottom. Whole night crawlers, but if they're a little finicky, go to a half a night crawler, and this will work for you. I know you can catch some trout at Lake Taneycomo, and that Trout Hollow Lodge area is really good right now, so get out there and try it. And when not running water, go back to that jig or maybe some spoons. I've heard of some little Cleo spoons have been working a little bit, but small jigs with light lines can pay off as well. Okay, let's go out to Bull Shoals. The water temperature was 84 degrees out there this morning, and the lake is still high. I think around 18 foot high, somewhere in that range. And they're catching some crappie out at Bull Shoals. Not many people are working for them, but the guys who are working for them are finding them and picking up some nice fish when they get into them. And I want to do a shout out to Wild Bill Carkland. He was out the other day again. We had his photo on last week. Here's another great photo of some nice crappie. Wild Bill fishing, boy, out at Bull Shoals. Brush piles seem to be a little bit more, a little tougher this week with all the boat activity maybe. But getting down to the isolated brush piles in about 20 feet of water could pay off for you for a crappie. And I want to show this beautiful sunset the other evening out at Bull Shoals, courtesy of Ronald Hunsaker. Look at this beautiful sunset. That's out at Bull Shoals. What a lovely place to be. Okay, thank you, Ronald, for that photo. And that lake is, is about 18 feet over normal pool. It's starting to go down. It's going down. It's just taking a lot of time. All right, if you're going bass fishing, it's kind of like you want to get out early in the morning and try some topwater fishing. That can pay off. I've had good reports of some topwater bites being had in the morning hours, that first hour of the sunrise, or right before the sunrise. It's dark 30 when it's just starting to come up. And then when that sun gets up, we've had a lot of some smallmouth and some bass coming up on the points. And so you may want to try these points, long run points. Start a little bit shallower. I've heard around 12 to 14, 15 feet of water. Try your Ned rigs. And then as the sun gets up, on those bright days, go out deeper and try some drop shotting. And I've had some reports also dragging some jigs over some of the points. And back in the mouth of some of the creeks, I mentioned this last week, boy, some of the fish are starting to move to the creek areas just a little bit, but any kind of a brush pile you can pick up in the creek areas, in the mouth of the creek areas. Go to your plastic worms, maybe throw a jig in there, but plastic worms can be real good right now, especially the Texas-style plastic worms. We talked about the crappie. The walleye fishing has been a little slower this week, but they are picking up some walleye off the deep water points and off some of the flats connected to the points. You just have to get out there and work it with your night crawlers and also your bottom bouncers. Try that as well. Okay, let's go out to Stockton Lake. I tell you what, that water temperature's clear down to 74 degrees. Boy, did that drop this week. Hope I got that right, but that's the report I got this morning. And look at this. Eric Marler was out the other day and picked up this nice bass on a sexy shad. What a great bait. And he picked this up on a crankbait off of a point, I believe. And here's a couple photos here. Rick and his lovely lady was out the other day. Look at this nice walleye that she had. Great photo. And Rick had a nice crappie. This photo of this beautiful crappie. Good going. And Tim Goodwin was out the other night. I believe it was on Friday night ahead of the Labor Day weekend, and went night fishing. And here's a big bunch of night fish. Some white bass and crappie. Ooh, that was good fishing as well. Now, I've heard on the walleye fishing, it's slowed down a little bit, but they are still on the points. They have been picking up a few fish out there. You have to wade through some small ones, but you can catch some keepers still on the points. They've been using bottom bouncers with a night crawler. Also, they've been using like a horse head, like a 1/4 ounce with a half a night crawler working the points. And so just keep working those points. We've been talking about this for weeks. It's the same pattern, but sometimes you just have to work through the small fish to catch a few keepers. Points and flats out at Stockton. Crappie fishing can be good. Boy, we've had some good reports this week. People getting the right spot at the right time. And they're suspended in 12 to 25 feet of water. And they've been going out there trolling some thicker shads and also maybe some bandits picking up fish. Other people have been getting out there and doodle socking or vertically fishing some of the brush piles and dead trees out there with minnows. And so if you get in the right spot at the right time, you can definitely catch some nice crappie out at Stockton. A few white bass have been coming up, breaking in the late evening on the point, so get yourself a white jig, like an 1/8 or a 1/4 ounce jig, or you can skip some small spoons across these whites when they're coming up. You can have a ball doing this. And the bass fishing has been pretty good. They've been picking up some nice bass on the points, brush, any kind of, you can find a point with a brush pile. Texas-style plastic worms been doing good. Also, they've been using some jigs and at times just slow-rolling swim baits. So check out Stockton this upcoming weekend. Out of Pomme de Terre, water temperature out there today was 76 degrees. And Cole Martin was out, and look at this beautiful crappie. Hey, how about that, Cole? Like that name, Cole Martin. And a nice fish out at Pomme de Terre. He really got into them. And so that's the thing about the crappie fishing at Pomme de Terre right now. They're kind of scattered. You just have to go to brush pile and keep looking. And sometimes you'll find more fish in an isolated brush pile than you will a bunch of brush in one area. So just get out with your electronics, keep looking, and just look for that magic brush pile. And get down there around 22 feet of water, understand? Minnows have been the best overall at Pomme de Terre. And Mark Cave was out the other day at Pomme de Terre, and look at this young man with this beautiful catfish. Good going, Mark. And by the way, I've had some good reports of bass fishing this past week out at Pomme de Terre. They're picking up some fish in the early morning hours on topwaters, and they're going to plastic worms and crankbaits out there and having some pretty nice bass fishing. And a few muskie are starting to show up, I understand, a few this week. All right, let's go out to Truman. That water temperature out there was 74 this morning. And I tell you what, there's been some nice fish caught out at Truman over the past weekend. They've been picking up some crappie. That's still the main thing. Look at Kyler Beckman. Here he is again. I tell you what, he's a guide, and he really gets his people into good crappie fishing. Look at this beautiful crappie. Wow. And they caught nice crappie out there on some of the flats, the isolated brush piles, and off some of the points. And they've been picking up some fish around some of the timber too. But up in the river arms, I heard around 8 feet of water. There's been a good depth to be looking for these crappie on jig and minnow combination, or just flipping a minnow and letting it go down around that brush. That's out at Truman. And Michael, hey, look at this. He caught this nice walleye down below the dam at the outlet. Michael, good going, young man. Beautiful fish. And so the Truman rock rats, good photo. And Michael, good fish. All right. Okay, the catfishing had a report that it's been a little bit slower at Truman out on the main lake. They are picking up some fish on some of the flats and the edge of the drop-offs. Shad bait, your shad has been the best bait, but it has slowed down just a little bit. But there has been some nice fish caught out there. Let's go out to Lake the Ozarks, 81 degrees out there. Scott Kern was out, and he caught these nice crappie. And I tell you what, he was picking up some fish, mainly on minnows. But some people out at Lake the Ozarks are finding the fish suspended and trolling or pushing and pulling crankbait bandits and also flicker shad. So try that. Scott Kern, good going. Mark Bochard, yeah, he was out the other day with his buddy, and look at this nice bass, a couple bass that they caught. Okay, now what they're doing, once again at Lake the Ozarks, a lot of these crappie are suspended out there, and they've been picking up some fish, like I said, trolling, flicker shads or bandits, and some people are going to the brush piles, just vertically fishing minnows, picking up fish, and other people, a few crappie are coming around some of the docks. Now, I've had real good reports of the bass fishing out at Lake the Ozarks. The bass are starting to move. Had good reports back in the creek arms, especially around some of the docks. Have any kind of brush on it. Jigging, flipping jigs, pitching jigs around the docks has been picking up. And also out on the main lake points, especially if you have any wind or any overcast, you go out there with crankbaits have been doing pretty good as well. And don't overlook maybe a topwater bait early in the morning out at Lake the Ozarks. And the catfishing has been pretty good at Lake the Ozarks up on that Osage River arm going towards the Truman Dam. The cut shad has been working, and they've been picking up a few bass up in that area too. Has been real. The bass fishing around some of the docks and so forth has been good up that Osage arm. All right, let's go to Norfolk. Water temperature out there was 83 degrees this morning. That has dropped. The other day it seemed like it was nearly 90. And so that water temperature is really dropping. And the striper fishing has been real tough out at Norfolk this week, the last 10 days. So the striper fishing hasn't been real good. There's just a low oxygen level right now. But you can go out. The big news that I've been talking about the last couple of weeks is the walleye fishing. People have been going out there in about 25 to 30 feet of water, find any activity over some of the brush, get down there with spoons. But I tell you what, a jig and a half a night crawler has been working, kind of drifting that along 25 to 30 feet of water. Few crappie have been caught, been a little slow this week, but the bass fishing has been good out at Lake Norfolk. Early morning topwater fishing has been fairly good, and they've been picking up some fish on plastic worms and crankbaits. Well, that's it this week. Kind of a quick report, but boy, didn't we have great fun this Labor Day weekend. It was fantastic. I had a great birthday. I want to thank Carla for all the fun we had out at Big Cedar, and the fishing was good. Gosh, it was a great birthday. 75. Ooh, man, can't believe it. Okay, want to thank you all for joining us. We had over 23,000 viewers last week. Keep sharing, everybody. That's what's doing this. You guys are really sharing. And if you're watching us over on YouTube, I tell you what, be sure to like and share. And it's that, Kathy. Bingo. Subscribe. We'd really appreciate it. And also, if you want to send us some photos on YouTube, through YouTube, go to our email. Email us at fishingchums@gmail.com. All of our thousands of viewers on Facebook, thank you. God bless you. Boy, we have a lot of views. Wow, over on Facebook. And we want you to like and share on Facebook. And I tell you what, thank you very much for viewing us over on Facebook. It's just amazing. That's about it for the day. I'm still just kind of wore out from my big birthday week, but I'm going to make it. God bless you all. Love you. Have a great weekend. Get out and get bit. And if I don't see you out on the lake this weekend, I'll see you right back here next week at this same time. Kathy, roll all those great photos we have.